Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to set up our welder and actually give it a test. If you haven't been following it along, this is the Miller Multimatic 220 AC/DC multi-purpose welder. You can do MIG weld and TIG weld, not only steel but aluminum, which is really important for me. It can also stick weld, which honestly isn't of interest to me, so I'm probably never going to use it, but it can do it. Now, I have no experience in welding at all, not just the welding itself, but working around it, setting it up, so bear with me as it's all brand new. If you're new to the welding scene as well, then, follow along and we can work through this together. Now, I'm sorry if you can hear some music in the background. Someone decided that they want to let the whole neighborhood hear. It is what it is. We'll just work through it. In any case, let's get started.
Okay, so we have our instructions, which we're probably going to need. Here's our wire spool. So the owner's manual for the MIG welding gun. We have a couple of gas tubes, I guess. And we have our spool of wire, some wrenches, and a couple of tips, it looks like.
So, first thing we're going to do is install our spool of wire. As you can see, this has a small hole. It's not going to fit around this. This looks like it's an adapter. So, spring. Make sure you don't lose that, I guess. So since the wire is supposed to feed over like that, it looks like, by the way it's been spooled, I have to put it on this way, which is a little weird because you'd think this would be to the outside. But we'll put it on. Washer. Spring, and our lock nut. I don't know how tight that has to be, but that feels like it's tight enough. The nylon is engaged, so I think we'll be okay. Like that, I guess. Okay, like that. And we can lock this in. Like so. This is going to screw in. Like that. So feeding the wire through, they say this tensioner is supposed to be set at 2 to start with, and then flick that down. Take our cutters and cut the wire here. Now, we'll take this, we'll clip this end off because this is useless, and then we will feed it in. It wants to curve on me, so we will just use a pair of pliers to help that in. Click that down. And just like that, we're in. Now, I can actually put power to this, and I should be able to feed it through with the cable.
So I bought a 40 amp, 8 gauge, 240 volt extension cord, 25 feet, and I'll tell you, these things are expensive. Holy crap. But needed if you want to run 240 and high amps.
And now I take the nozzle off. Like so. So the welding kit comes with 2 tips for 030 wire, which is obviously what is supplied. And we'll put that on. Now I have turned off the power when I'm doing this. I don't know how tight this is supposed to be. Now we can put this back on. Snip the tip. So before I set up the gas, I'm going to install this welding blanket just to make sure I don't burn my house down. I'm also going to remove things that might start on fire, like this bag of rags. Onto the gas. Now I have put a strap around these. They're not super tight, but they're not going to fall down at all, which is obviously important. We're going to start with our argon CO2 for our MIG. So we have 2 regulators. I don't know if they're the same or not. Well, the GoPro wasn't recording to get this regulator on, so I'm going to do it again for the argon gas regulator. So the regulators are identical. They only accept argon or argon CO2 mix, and of course a little Teflon tape on all the connections. Now I'll install the gas lines. So now we can hook the gas connections up to the back of the welder. Obviously we have TIG and MIG. Don't mix them up. I doubt that would be good. And now our TIG connection. Okay, so we're going to turn our gas on. I don't know how, if you have to open up all the way or not. No idea. And then our regulator. I think I should only have to go around 15 or so, because I am in a garage right now, so I think that should be okay. Mind you, I don't know if that's at 10. Do you set it for, you know, static 15 or when it's operational 15? I'm not too sure. I'll have to read on that a little bit, but we'll try. Well, we'll just go like that for now, just in case. I'd rather set a little higher pressure and then dial it back. So in the front of the welder we have 3 ports. This one is for the TIG welding pedal. This one here is for our TIG torch or our stick welding cable, and the bottom one is for the grounding cable. So we're going to hook up the grounding cable first. One cool thing about when I bought my welder is that it came with a free Miller Digital Performance welding helmet. Now, I don't know how good of a welding helmet this is, but it is brand new. It is free, so I can't complain about that. I do know that it has the auto dimming feature, which is something that I think is going to help me a lot. As the one thing about welding that I guess I'm a little concerned or worried about is how am I going to see. So I guess we'll give this a shot and see, you know, just how good it is for me at least. So that's cool. Another thing I bought is these Lincoln Electric TIG welding gloves. Now I know the MIG welding gloves are a lot thicker and they go up your arm a little more. They can handle the heat a lot better, I guess, but we'll give these a shot and see if they're good enough for what I'm going to do, at least for now. So let's get started. So my first test weld is going to be with these little chunks of mild steel that I cut off. I used my Miller
testing gauge to verify that this is 1/8 thick mild steel. I put a little edge on it just so I can have a V-notch for that weld to go through. As you can see, I cleaned it all off. I also bought this magnet, which we can probably set up like that, and then I can probably lay a tack down, maybe a tack or two down, and then give it the full weld. So let's set up the welder for what we're going to be welding. So the first thing I need to do is check what the settings need to be. So we open this up. We know we're going to be using mild steel, argon CO2 shielding gas, and we're using an 030 wire. So if we go all the way over to 240 volts, 1/8, it looks like it'll be 17.7 volts and 304 wire feed speed. On our welder, obviously we are going to be doing, we're already set, it looks like, to MIG steel C25. I guess you just use these to change it. Simple enough. And then it goes through a whole bunch of guru. There we go. So it said 17.7 and 304 wires feed speed. All right, I think we are ready to go. Put our welding clamp on. I went too fast. So that's my first ever weld. The welder seems to work pretty good, but as you can see, the weld's a bit thick. It worked a little bit, which I'm not surprised at all. I couldn't see very well. Mainly like before I start my weld, I couldn't pinpoint where I was putting the wire. So I'll have to figure that out. But I think what I'll do now is, I don't know, maybe do something like this. Just to try welding an edge, I guess. I don't know. I'll play around with it a little bit and see if I can just gain some experience, I guess. So my first welds are in the books. This was my very first weld right here, which I ground down and cut the metal just to check for penetration, which it seems like it is just fine. A little bit of practice right there. Had a little bit of warpage, which I guess is to be expected. Moved on to some 20 gauge sheet metal, which I had some really, really ugly welds right in here, and it turns out I just didn't have enough gas on. Cranked it up a little bit, and it cleaned it up quite nicely. Practice was over, moved on to something that I actually am going to use. These upper welds right here, I was using the cursive E technique, or the small circles. Need some practice, but I think I just need a steadier hand and whatnot. But I also need to work on my joints and my corners, because I think I'm not pulling the weld far enough over, and maybe I need a hold. So I need to work on that technique as well. But I did get one weld that I feel like I'm pretty happy about, right there. And this one, I came down and I went back and forth on this one. But overall, I would say that by far has been my best weld. I mean, obviously, none of these are, going to fall off. They're strong. They just, look a little ugly. Now, I will say that I am extremely happy with the Miller Multimatic 220 welder. I feel that it is extremely user-friendly. Setting up the welder for the different metals that I was using was very straightforward, and it is highly recommended. And now that I've done the MIG welding, the next video we're going to try TIG welding. Maybe even TIG welding aluminum. So if you want to see that video, be sure to subscribe, like this video, and thanks for watching.